It was a Tuesday night, the kind where the city's rain felt like tears from the heavens. I was in the back booth of the Velvet Room, nursing a whiskey, double neat. The club was a swath of dark corners and whispered secrets, but it was my solace from the world outside. That's where I first saw him. Vincent Marlowe. Vincent was a ghost. Tall, with a hard edge and a look in his eyes that screamed of wars fought and battles lost. He walked into the club like he owned the place, but I knew he had nothing. Nothing but a broken past and the kind of charm that could melt steel. His leather jacket was soaked from the rain, his hair tousled like he'd been running from something or someone. He sat at the bar, ordered a drink, and for a moment his gaze met mine. There was an electricity, a current that passed between us that made my heart race. He was trouble, the kind you didn't walk away from unscathed, but I couldn't look away. I was drawn to him like a moth to the flame. As the night wore on, he approached my booth. "Mind if I join you?" His voice was gravel, rough, and intoxicating. I nodded, and he slid into the seat across from me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. It was the kind of silence that held weight, an understanding of shared pain without a word. "Why do you look so sad?" he finally asked, his eyes searching mine. "Life," I replied, taking a sip of my whiskey. "You?" He smirked, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Life," he echoed. "And death." It was then that I knew Vincent Marlowe was running from something darker than a rainy night. We talked until the bar closed, about everything and nothing. I learned he was an ex-cop, a detective who had lost everything, his wife, his child, his faith. He was a man with nothing left to lose, and that made him dangerous. It also made him irresistible. Days turned into weeks, and Vincent became a constant in my life. We were two broken souls finding solace in each other. He told me about the case that haunted him, a series of murders that led to the death of his family. The killer was still out there, a ghost in the machine, and Vincent was obsessed with finding him. One night, the storm outside was relentless. We were holed up in my apartment, the sound of the rain a backdrop to our whispered conversations. Vincent was restless, pacing like a caged animal. "What's wrong?" I asked, sensing his agitation. "I found him," he said, his voice low and filled with a deadly calm. "The man who killed my family. He's here, in the city." My heart skipped a beat. "What are you going to do?" He looked at me, and for a moment I saw the depth of his pain, the darkness that consumed him. "I'm going to finish it." I knew then that I had to help him. Love had a way of binding you to another's fate, and I was bound to Vincent. We spent the next few days planning, combing through the evidence, piecing together the killer's moves. It was dangerous, but we were both too far gone to care. The final showdown happened in an abandoned warehouse by the docks. The air was thick with tension, and every shadow seemed to whisper of death. Vincent and I moved silently, our guns drawn, every sense heightened. We found him, the killer, a man named Caldwell. He was waiting for us, a twisted smile on his face, as if he'd anticipated this moment. Vincent didn't hesitate. There was a flurry of bullets, a dance of death that ended with Caldwell lying on the floor, a pool of blood spreading around him. But it wasn't over. Caldwell had one last card to play. With his dying breath, he revealed a bomb, a device set to explode, taking us all with it. Panic surged through me, but Vincent remained calm, his mind racing to find a way out. "Run," he ordered, his voice leaving no room for argument. I hesitated, but he pushed me towards the door. "Go!" I ran, my heart pounding, praying Vincent would follow. The explosion rocked the building, the force of it throwing me to the ground outside. When the dust settled, I turned back, screaming his name. Vincent emerged from the rubble, battered but alive. He collapsed into my arms, and I held him, tears streaming down my face. He looked at me, his eyes softening for the first time since we met. "It's over," he whispered. I nodded, knowing that while the nightmare had ended, our battle scars would remain. We were two souls stitched together by fate, and despite the darkness, we had found each other. In the end, that was enough.